Hello, this is Heather Hoffman, and today I have a fun floral watercolor card with a diagonal masked panel that I created using a couple of different Unity Stamp Company sentiment kits. I'm going to start with a piece of watercolor cardstock, and I'm using some blue painter's tape. Now I would recommend maybe testing it out on a few different styles of watercolor paper, or maybe put that tape on your pants and get a little bit of lint on it so it doesn't stick quite so much. When I got to the end, I ended up noticing I peeled a little bit of my watercolor paper off, and I know I need to test it and play with it a little bit more, but I would suggest doing that. I'm using a floral image from Every Single Day. It's the June 2018 sentiment kit, and I'm going to just kind of turn my stamp each section as I stamp it, kind of planning where I want to place it. And so I only inked the part that I really needed to show around the edge of the painter's tape, so I didn't have to ink my whole entire image. And because it's watercolor cardstock, I am stamping my image twice to get a nice clear impression on the texture of the watercolor paper. I'm using VersaFine Onyx ink. It's a great pigment ink that works really well for watercolors. It's color fast, or it doesn't run with the water, so as I do my watercolors, the image will stay nice and clear. There's lots of different watercolor friendly inks that you can use. And I'm going to clean my stamp off real quick, and then I'm keeping that tape in place while I do my watercoloring. I had used it to kind of hold it in place in the MISTI so that I could stamp off the edge of my cardstock in my mini MISTI. Now I'm pulling out my Daniel Smith watercolors and just a plain paintbrush and a little cup of water, and I picked some kind of fall themed watercolors. I kind of went with a lot of orange and yellow, a little touch of red, and kind of a soft mossy green that I thought was kind of fun. And I'm just really simply going around and watercoloring my images, coloring the flowers first, and then I'm adding in the leaves next. And then once I'm done with all of those, I'll kind of fill in the background around there too. Building up the color as I go. I started with just kind of a lighter wash, and then I keep adding deeper color as I go along to get my color built up. So I'm gonna stop talking for a minute and let you watch me color, and then I'll tell you what's next. Now that I finished my watercolor, I'm going to peel that painter's tape off. And again, at this point, I'm not quite sure if I should have let my watercolor dry a little more, but I noticed it peeled off quite a bit of the texture of the paper there. Instead of throwing it away, which I was tempted to at this point, but I had already gone through all the watercoloring, so I decided, you know what, I'm just going to use that. And it almost gave it like a handmade paper kind of a texture, just a little bit of a roughness to it. Like I said, I just kind of went with it. I used a sentiment from There Is No Reason, which is the August 2018 sentiment kit. I stamped it on there, and then I added a couple rows of machine stitching with my sewing machine. And afterwards, right before I assembled the card, I did add a few little black splatters just to finish it off. Thanks so much for coming by. Hope you enjoyed. Have a wonderful day.